1. I, a former employee, need to vent about my experience working at a new ethnic cuisine restaurant in Israel, which unfolded in August and September. I want to share the reasons behind my sudden termination and address the unreasonable changes in my work schedule, which I believe violated Israeli labor laws. I started working there in December 2022 as a waiter and social media manager. Over a few months, my work hours were significantly reduced without any explanation or advance notice from the restaurant owner and manager. This one-sided cut in working hours had severely impacted my ability to make a decent income, forcing me on National Insurance Income Guarantee. Furthermore, I was informed abruptly about my termination by a fellow employee without any reasonable explanation, opportunity for resolution, or a chance to express concerns or complaints that could have led to these dismissals. The situation had left me joyless, causing financial uncertainty. Despite this, the employer refused to provide a termination letter, hindering my ability to apply for unemployment benefits, in which case I had to seek alternative employment. I want to highlight that even during the challenging times of the ongoing war, I have managed to secure new employment. Upon examining my situation and taking it seriously, I believe the following points should be considered. 1. Unlawful termination. According to Article 14 of Israeli labor law, the employer must provide a reason for termination and adequate notice, which did not happen in my case. 2. Reduction in working hours. Article 6 of Israeli labor law requires the employer to provide reasonable notice and explanation when reducing employees' working hours, which was not done in a fair and unbiased manner. 3. Lack of hearing process. As per Article 11 of Israeli labor law, the employer must offer an opportunity for the employee to respond and express opinions or complaints before taking action such as termination. 4. Delayed salary payments. My salary was often paid more than 10 days after the due date, with bank transfers received beyond the legally specified dates. The employer claimed to have forgotten to process them on time. 5. No pension contributions. There were no contributions made towards my pension fund. I am willing to provide relevant details for investigation purposes. More or less, I'm just looking for advice. What would others do in such a situation? Obviously, she owes me money, and the legal process here, as far as labor court goes, means it will likely go in my favor. 3. This two-top, guy and girl, came in tonight. A pretty slow Sunday evening. All goes well and the girl jokes around with me, while her dad, grandpa, unsure of ages, is generally easygoing. At first. The first problem is when the girl's food comes out. The guy says her fries are cold. I tell them, oh, that's no good. Let me have them replate your salmon and veggies so you can still eat while we cook up a fresh batch of fries. This was my first mistake, not realizing he wanted fresh fries on top of the cold ones, so they had 2 orders of fries. I run it back to the kitchen and ask our expo to have them make new fries while we replate the dish. Thankfully, they had fries coming up, so they fixed everything up and I ran it back out, literally 2 minutes tops. I have her check to ensure they're fresh. She says yes, thank you. But then the guy says his rice and quinoa is cold. I say, oh no, I don't know what's happening with cold food. That's not okay. Let me make a new batch of that, and I'll relay the message to my manager and the chefs about the food coming out cold this way. The guy then just decides to get combative for no reason and says, I'm not coming up with this stuff out of my head. Which I didn't understand what he even meant. So I said, no, I understand and I'm sorry. I'm going to get new rice. I leave his plate for him and just go get an extra side of rice and quinoa, so he doesn't have to stop eating. I bring it out, fresh. He then says, this is ridiculous. At this point, I don't even want you to do anything about it because we keep going back and forth on the food, but my salmon is dry while hers is moist. He was visibly annoyed, And I was so lost in what else to do other than get him a manager, which, by the way, I'd already told one of the 2 managers on shift to check on him right after the rice was cold. I say I'm so sorry, and he says, "No, I just want you to see what I'm seeing. It's dry, right?" His tone has been gradually shifting into anger from the first incident with the fries, and I can tell he's not going to be happy with anything I do. I say, "Unfortunately, sir, I don't know, as I didn't make the food. So let me tell the chef again, and my manager again." He says, "I didn't say you made the food. You don't have to agree with me. Never mind, but it's dry, and you should be able to see that as a consumer." Honestly, it looked like regular salmon to me. I eat our salmon all the time, and it's bomb. So I don't know, but I obviously take his word and tell my manager again. He's not going over to the table. When I asked what the guy told him when he checked on him, he said, "Just walked by and the guy was eating his food just fine," so they didn't talk. Okay, so I tell the second manager and ask him to check on the table. He walks by, doesn't speak to the table, just looks at the table to see if he's eating, and then tells me he comped his meal. I ask what the guy told him, and he says nothing, they didn't talk. Jesus Christ. Neither manager wants to speak with this table. The 4th time I go up to this table after they've gotten their meals is when it really just goes off the rails. I ask how everything is. The guy immediately starts berating me, saying, "How do I think it's going?" And, "I already told you how it was going." Meanwhile, still eating his food. He's very combative at this point, and my other tables are turning to glance, so I say, "Okay, I'm sorry, I was just checking in." And he says, "You're checking now that we're almost done? What's that going to do? You've done nothing, and no one in this restaurant has come to help make this right." I say, "Honestly, sir, I did tell my managers and ask them to come speak with you. I'm sorry they haven't, and I will go get them again." At this point, he's right. It's ridiculous I've had to ask them 3 times. But he doesn't know I've asked 3 times for my managers to step in and check on him. In his mind, I've done nothing but bring 2 fresh items they said were cold and haven't done anything about the dry salmon that he said that he doesn't want fixed. Once he heard I had asked for a manager and hadn't had one come, he gets very insistent about needing the corporate phone number and starts getting louder, demanding the names and positions of the managers. Are they general managers, shift managers, names? I give their names that he's demanding and say, "Okay, hold on," and leave to get the manager again, because clearly I can't de-escalate this situation on my own. I tell my managers that he's demanding the corporate number and has their names, and only then does one of them finally intervene. He proceeds to talk to this table for, I'm not kidding, 25 minutes. The table next to them is visibly uncomfortable and keeps turning around to look at the guy who's complaining for so long, then make eye contact with me. They then ask for the check and pull me aside and tell me not to worry about miserable people like that. Finally, my manager comes back from speaking with them, and the guy and his daughter or whatever start to leave. They have their food all boxed up to go, despite it being terrible, and had their entire meals comped. Obviously. But the guy starts pulling cash out and waits at the very front to make sure he tips the kitchen staff and the manager. He then leaves smiling and waving. I see all of this and ask my manager if he tipped him and the chefs. He says yes. I asked what his issue was with me then, and what did you guys talk about for so long? He says, you took the girl's plate to get new fries instead of leaving it, and getting extra ones, and he said you were in no rush to help, had no urgency. The expo overheard and jumps in to back me up on getting the fresh fries and rice ASAP. I had it at this point. I'm incredibly stressed out as it is, and this table made me feel awful. And now it seemed like my manager who spoke to the guy was agreeing that I should have done things different. So I told both my managers, honestly, I did ask both you guys to go check on him several times, and you guys both waited until he berated me about corporate and wanted your names. Waited until my other tables were visibly uncomfortable. I'm actually very upset, and I need to go calm down. One manager was silent, while the other one argues with me that I never asked him to talk to the table. I reiterated that I did more than once, then went to the back to calm down. I finished my shift and left, but I'm working on my master's project at 2 a.m. now, and have to fucking teach tomorrow in a few hours because it's so expensive out here I have to have 2 jobs in school, and these people just push me over the edge sometimes. Anyway, end rant. 4. Happened about a week ago. I had gotten a new job as a bartender and server for Saturdays. In my interview, I told my manager that I had lots of experience in serving, but little with bartending, but was very willing to learn. I got hired, and they wanted me to train on a Friday. It was pretty slow that day, and I didn't get fully trained on everything, obviously, as well as making certain drinks, but it went well. Keep in mind, I also had to leave during lunch for a bit to pick up my car from the shop, so I wasn't even there a full day. By the end of the day, my manager informs me that I will be all by myself the next day bartending and serving. No hostess, food runner, or busser. I was very nervous, obviously. I was learning the point of sale system for the very first time, which was super confusing on my first day. Because the last restaurant I worked at was cash only. They had a huge food menu which I did not memorize one bit, and there were specialty cocktails I wasn't shown how to make. I told her I was nervous about working by myself on a Saturday, but she informed me it shouldn't be too hard, and I can call her at any time, and will have help from the casino runner from downstairs. Fast forward to the next Saturday. I go into work hopeful, thinking everything should be fine. It was pretty slow the first couple of hours, and only asked for help a few times on little things. Then the lunch rush hits. I'm starting to get parties of 4 to 6 walking in, all within 10 to 15 minutes of each other. I was getting help with drinks I didn't know how to make. I barely knew where anything was. I took forever putting in orders on the point of sale system because it was so new to me and was continuously getting my orders and tables mixed up. Most of my tables were waiting on drinks. The rest were either waiting to order or waiting for their check. Some of the cooks in the kitchen came out to yell at me in front of customers while I was trying my best to pay them out and get their drinks. When I arrived to the kitchen and saw so many plates sitting in front of me waiting to be served, I broke down crying. Some of the nicer cooks were trying to help me calm down and were trying to tell me which dish was what. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was I had no clue which dish went to what table. I guess I accidentally rang in some orders twice, some of them were wrong, and the cherry on top of that is I forgot you have to manually name all of your tables in the system before sending them to the kitchen, which I had forgotten to do. So the majority of the tickets just said customer 1. I just left the kitchen and went downstairs once again for help from the casino runner. She tried helping me as best she could, but the damage that had been caused was pretty much non-repairable at that point with just 2 of us there. I have worked some pretty horrifically busy and understaffed shifts before, but this was my worst nightmare come true. I tried the absolute best that I could with all the information that I had. I couldn't stop crying on the floor. Everyone was either looking at me with anger or pity. I was the most humiliated and embarrassed I'd ever been. I was eventually told to go home since I couldn't stop crying. I never came back. This is one of the most popular restaurants in my area, so when she said it shouldn't be that hard on a Saturday, I should have said something right then and there, as she knew that I was new to the bartending and computer system side of it. Also, this was a seat-yourself restaurant. I did not by any means seat all of these customers. They all sat themselves while I was running about the restaurant. 5. To my last table on Friday night. I didn't particularly want to take you. I knew I was about to get cut, and I ended up getting told to take one last table and then leave. It was a 4-top. 3 guys and a girl between the ages of 16 and 19 would be my guess. The type of table that's usually nice enough, but never stands out throughout the course of a shift. Okay, I'll take it. I have to be up at 5 a.m. I just want to go home. Black coffee. It's 9 p.m. I can do that. Obviously going to have to make more. It'll be a bit. They took a while to order. I was getting slightly annoyed, not by them, but just by the time elapsing that I could have been sleeping. Then this table starts hyping me up. I put their food in, and they were super appreciative. I walk by a few times getting silverware and stuff, and every time they just talk about how great I'm doing. One of the times the guy with coffee stops me. He says if I grab him a refill, he'll make it worth my while on the tip. Say less, I tell him. It's free refills anyways, but he generally really appreciates it. It's hard not to smile. The food comes, and they talk about how great it is. Although I just want to go home, I've started to love this table. They eat, and mention again how great I'm doing. I ask them about their weekends, mundane stuff, and their generally good conversations for a minute. I bring the check. Between the four of them, the bill comes to maybe $60. They pay and leave, and before I bust their table, I say goodbye at the door. I loved this table. I grab the receipts. $45 of tips on the tabs. From a group of 18-year-olds at 9 p.m. One of them wrote, "Have a great weekend, my man." I hope they had a great weekend as well. It seems so little, so irrelevant in the course of the shift, of the week. But I'll remember that table as one that really made a difference. I was struggling and exhausted, especially with finals week coming up, and that interaction made a huge difference for me. Of course, the tip was nice, but sometimes it's just nice to feel appreciated, like you're making a difference. So thank you to that foretop. It seems small, but it really helped make my day better, and I'll remember you guys for a long time. I'm not sure if they were in high school or college, but regardless, parents should raise their kids to be like them. A genuine, bright moment in someone's otherwise stressful day. Thanks again, y'all. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 229. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button to encourage YouTube to recommend this video to other people. And if you'd like to get early access to the videos, then you can support me through my Patreon page. You can click on the link in the description below, it'll take you right to it. You can also find a link to the Hellfreezer Teespring merchandise page. Never a bad time to buy yourself some Hellfreezer merchandise. I think it's wonderful. I may not be impartial on that, I admit. And you can also make donations, or you could call them tips, either way you want to look at it, by clicking that little heart with a $sign just below the video, and you can select the tip of your choice. You don't have to do that. Never have to do that. I always get grumpy when I see YouTubers acting very entitled about these things, but I do appreciate it very much, and it does help a lot. So thank you kindly. Okay. I think that's it. Yes, that's it. Sorry, I'm at the end of a 2-day recording session. My brain's kind of numb anyway, so I'm losing track of reality. Okay, here we go. Right, no other business, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, and this one goes for the more mature members of the audience. When did you first feel like an adult? And for me, I think it was a few years back now, but it was when I started caring more about household objects, like, new vacuum cleaner, or a new microwave. Oh, I got these excellent new plates, one of which I actually broke last night, so it was a great tragedy, but and I was as excited about them as I would have been about getting toys when I was a kid. That's for me when I knew I was an adult. So I look forward to reading your responses in a comment below. With that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.